Welcome, everybody. My name is Richard C. Wilson, founder of the Family Office Club. And today I'm here with Stephen Epstein from taxcreditexpert.com. And we're going to be talking about R&D tax credits. And welcome, Stephen.
Thanks so much, Richard. Appreciate you having me on the show.
Sure. So essentially, there are certain companies that would qualify for this type of tax credit. It's a very beneficial tax credit if you do qualify. And I think a lot of people don't realize that they might qualify because they think of R&D tax credit and they think of maybe people at Intel and bunny suits creating, silicon chips or something. And when I dug into this with you and your team, I found a few things, and you can kind of correct me where I'm wrong and make this more clear for people. But if you are in the manufacturing business, line of business, if you are doing software development in the United States with some US software programmers, or doing other types of things that could be classified as R&D activities, and especially if your business is just 3 to 5 years old or something in that range, I remember this could be something you really want to take a look at, and you could qualify for every year unless they made this go away. And I haven't seen this on Biden's hit list of things to make go away, but that's basically the extent of my understanding. And I know a lot of people have not heard about this credit at all. So I just want to have you kind of correct me a little bit and just put some scope around this tax credit.
Sure. No, thanks for bringing up some of those good points. It's true. I mean, people mistakenly think of R&D tax credits as guys sitting around, scientists sitting around pharmaceutical company with beakers and chemicals and experimenting with different things like that. And that's partially true. Of course, those companies qualify for research and development tax credits. But back in the 80s, when the United States was faced with really stiff competition from Japan, they wanted to incentivize companies to reinvest into making the United States more competitive. And since then, more or less on and off again, there's been research and development tax credits available. And really for the last 5 or 6 years, they've been made permanent as part of the tax code. So it'd be very, very difficult for the Biden administration or any future administration to really change this, because it's sort of part and parcel. That's part of the fabric of the tax code right now. But I'm not a CPA. We're a consultant. We're an independent group that helps companies that are, like you said, in the manufacturing world or software world, or some of these other industries that apply engineering, architecture, other things that you might not think of. We help groups document their research and development tax credits, and we work with their CPAs to help them understand and document and prove their tax credit. So, and the reason you want to have an independent party do this is because it really is a specialty. And if you're a software company, you go to your CPA, who's not an expert in this, and say, "Hey, I heard I qualified for a tax credit." They'll say, "Oh, it's more trouble than it's worth." And that'll be the end of that conversation, right? When in reality, it's a little more complex. There's two types of tax credits that apply both as a payroll credit, rebate, so you can actually get money back from the government even if you're not profitable, and you can also take R&D tax credits as an income offset against your net income. So they're very, very robust. They're for mature companies, they can use them as a net income offset, or for early stage companies, you can actually use them against payroll credits.
Right.
Payroll tax.
Right. And what is the number of years? Is it 3 years or 5 years, where if your company's only been around for so many years, you can kind of use this as well to count on against payroll?
Yeah, there's a few different criteria, and we don't need to get necessarily into the deep minutia of how old you are versus whether you're profitable or not profitable. But if you spend more than about $300,000 a year in payroll, and you do any kind of engineering or manufacturing, including software, there's a pretty good chance that you qualify, and there's a pretty good chance it's worth recovering the tax credit. If you only spend about $200,000 a year in W-2 payroll, it's probably the cost of doing the study and figuring all this out is going to be burdensome. But just like there's other things like cost segregation studies. If you have a big enough real estate project, they're very worthwhile. They can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. This is the same thing. We found for a company that had been doing software engineering, software development for the last 7 years, we found over $1 million of tax credits for them, which is insane, because those are dollar for dollar credits they can use to offset their actual tax bill. So it's not a reduction of your taxable income; it's actual dollar for dollar credit. So it's really worth exploring. And again, people don't think of engineering as like an architecture firm, a real estate development company. You might have a software engineering business, any manufacturing business that's doing process improvement, granite and stone companies, manufacturing, fabrication businesses, even certain construction companies might qualify. But we see a lot of engineering firms and architecture firms getting great credits as well.
Sure. And then because of your understanding of this tax credit, if somebody is growing a business or looking to invest in a business or starting a business from scratch, and they just want to keep this credit in mind, and whether they, obviously, if they do software programming onshore versus offshore, this would have an impact. Or are there a couple other things that people should know if they wanted to just make sure that they're doing effective tax planning with their companies? Like with cost segregation, I found out, you maximize the ability to use cost segregation when the land is a low percentage of the total cost of the property you're buying. If the land is 90% of the value, you're not going to be depreciating much on the structure. And so going into it, you can know this is not a property that's going to have a big cost seg benefit. For the R&D tax credits, is there a big decision or something that's maybe not obvious on the surface, or something you've learned that would be important to making something work very well with this tax credit?
Yeah, so we have probably like a dozen videos on our website that are all free. You don't have to sign up for anything. You just go to our website and you can watch these educational videos, and really within about 15 minutes, you can really get up to speed, 15, 20 minutes up to speed on whether you qualify or not, because that's really how each of these videos is sort of outlined. So, go to taxcreditexpert.com and check out some of those videos, and obviously reach out. We do free consultations with people. Essentially, the way that our business works is that we take a percentage of the money that we find for you. Obviously, we want to make sure you're comfortable with, every part and piece of the process, and that we have to then pay the cost of defending you if there's ever an audit. So we align ourselves very much. So there's, it's a contingency based type service. Again, we're a consulting firm, not a CPA firm. So if you're a CPA, you couldn't do contingency based work. So that's one of the reasons that we're the type of financial arrangement that we have set up. But there's lots of things to answer your question with regard to things you should look out for. I mean, it's really the amount that you spend on payroll, and it's payroll within the United States. And the types of people that are going to be eligible are going to be people that are engaged in process improvement work. They're doing iterative testing, documentation of various processes. So for example, let's say you have a granite and stone business and you fabricate countertops. Well, you're continuously testing different blades and tools, and you're aligning and rearranging your workflow within the various different pieces of machines that you use. You're reconfiguring your shop, and you're testing for the speed of throughput and the efficiency of throughput. So any manufacturing process, from baking, pizzas to, fabricating, very intricate machinery, equipment parts, really anybody and anything in between will qualify if they're doing process improvement work, where they're improving the viability of the product, the speed and cost of the manufacturing process to try to reduce that, or they're trying to improve the consistency and quality and sort of reliability, and reduce the error rate and the rejection rates and so forth.
Right. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, so I could see how this would be relevant to many people in our community, because if you're looking at investing in a company and they don't know about this, introducing them to you could create a lot of goodwill if you're able to save them a lot on this credit, and it's a reoccurring credit. Obviously, it kind of changes the IRR on things if you are on the cap table of the company, or you're going to be, and all of a sudden the business becomes much more tax efficient. They can grow faster, they could reinvest, they could hire more people on their staff, et cetera. So obviously, I think that business owners listening to this probably see several ways where this could be the way that you get your foot in the door somewhere where you want to do a business deal or an acquisition, or just a way to deposit some goodwill coins in the bank with somebody, pretty quickly if they would qualify, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great tool in acquisitions as well, to defray or offset the cost of making a purchase. So if you're looking at acquiring a big manufacturing company and you see that they have, $1 million worth of payroll, you're looking at, it's hard to calculate offhand, but a relatively meaningful percentage of that could be recovered in the form of dropping straight to the bottom line. And so that can be a meaningful amount of money if you have a high grossing, low margin business where payroll is a really big component of what you do. And that's very heavy in engineering. That's why architecture firms, engineering firms, software development firms, it's very high dollar hourly workers that are doing a lot of testing and refinement. And software development is a great case because of the fact that it's being tested and debugged, and they're using various either programming languages or testing methodologies and so forth. So
right, yeah, makes sense. Awesome. Well, this is something that glad we had a chance to cover as part of this 100 Tax Expert interview series. And if anyone has any other questions, just please let us know. We'll connect you directly to Stephen, or you can just check out his website at taxcreditexpert.com and watch some of those videos and get to know him and his team. I've had a chance to fly down to Nashville and meet with him in person just about 6 weeks ago, I think it was. And I've gotten to know several people on his team. So I appreciate your time here today, Stephen.
Thanks, Richard. Yeah, we're really excited about these tax credits. We've saved entrepreneurs just tons of money and made a good amount of money for ourselves. And there's no restriction on what you can spend the tax credits on. So when we did it, we actually started off by doing this for our own business. And I bought a Chris Craft ski boat with the tax credit money that I got back. So you don't have to reinvest the money in the business. It's yours to keep and do what you want with. If you want to buy a ski boat with it, you can. And I highly encourage you to, have fun with this process and get the money that's rightfully yours, because you can go back a few years as well and claim stuff in the past. So.
Awesome. Great. Appreciate your time here today.